All right, Lions fans, this is your guy. I'm not a Lions fan, and I'm going to talk about Quinn and Patricia and their pursuit for uh, changing the culture around here at in Detroit, predominantly with the level of mediocrity uh, to the standard of new heights that we have never seen before. Some may say that's winning the North. And some may say we're having a playoff win or a playoff run. I'm going to go to the stretch run and say Super Bowl. Now, according to previous examples or how it's typically done in a league or whatever, I won't use that as my foundation. What I'm going to use is foresight. The foresight I'm going to use is not based upon the history of what we did last year, the year before, and so forth. I'm not going to use that, or I'm not even going to use another team as the example of why we can go from basically last to first and possibly win the Super Bowl. What I'm going to do is give the very the I want to say the indecisive decision. I don't know if I can say it that way. Well, I'm going to make a statement of why they will win the division, and I'm going to make the statement why they are in the hunt for a Super Bowl run this year, and not talk wise, but alignment wise. Take for example, let's break down some positional groups. If we were to say the linebacker group, now will we say that's an All Pro linebacker core? Probably not. Not name wise, not statistically either. But this is why I would say they are an All Pro linebacker core. Each one of them complement each other. Now, normally, normally when you see a team like the Bears or you see a team that like the Ravens or another good defensive team, you see chemistry developed, and you would say, okay, you see the fruits of their labor, and then you could say, okay, all right, this team is going to be this type of defensive team. But when the Lions, with the Lions is amazing though because you can give them the best of names, and you can have like this prediction like they're going to be a top-notch defensive team, but then at the same time, the very unexpected happens. Like all of a sudden the players is getting hurt or is mix up in chemistry in the locker room and so forth. It's self imploded or self explosion, whatever. And then next you know, everything that you thought was going to be legit goes south. So you can't use that as a method. You can't use that as a template. You have to start over with the Lions organization or the Lions team altogether. You got to give them their own lane of how it's going to get done. You can't go off of how this team did it or how that team did it. There's no way the Lions going to do it like the Patriots did it. There's no way the Lions going to do it like how the Chiefs did it or how the 49ers did it or how the Ravens did or how the Steelers did or how any of the previous team that have won. The Lions is going to do it so original because no one is going to see it coming. And it's not going to be like this new blueprint of how to win. It just going to come together. If you look at all the Detroit teams and sports professional teams in Detroit, they have done it that way. You know, if you want to make the exception with the Red Wings, how through the years, going back to how and how they was like a favorite. So it was hockey town for a reason based upon what they established years ago. But then you talk about fast forward to the last time they won a title, they had to build it just in the example of what I'm talking about. It has to be homemade. You know, it has the way they built the team and the way they went on their title run was not like any other team that done it before them. The Bad Boys, the Going to Work crew, it wasn't like any other team that ever done it before. So when you come to the even with the Tigers, '84, or even when they went to the World Series up on the Leland and um, uh, Dombrowski, they they did it in a way that wasn't considered the typical example or template. They made their own way to get there. So the Lions are going to do the exact same thing. All right, the linebacker core. Okay, let's say like if we run a 3-4, right? Uh, I'm going to line it up this way. You give me Collins, Tavai in the middle. And I can go either way. I can go with a jack. I can go with outside. I can go with anything on the outside. I can go with a core. I can go with Bryant. I can go with two cores, and I can go with maybe Ragland or something like that. I can go so many different ways. I can do it. So this is the reason why I'm going to say why the Lions is so great, and that why the defense is going to be so great, because the opposing. If you look at the past 2 years, the opponents have been adjusting to the Lions versus the Lions adjusting to the team, to the opponent. So this year, they Patricia's going to have more at his arsenal to adjust around and to I don't want to say mastermind, but basically put out sets or put out different personnel that the other staff or the offensive coordinator is going to have to flex to them. All right. Now it's one thing. Take for example the Chiefs. The Chiefs basically pose their will upon everybody. High flying, points, fast, peak pace type deal. But even with that, the Lions showed how to beat them. It is amazing. Who was the team that we beat and Bill Belichick gave us the credit for showing them how to play against that team in the Super Bowl? Who was it? I forgot who the Patriots played that year. I want to say the Rams. But even I don't know who it was, but whoever it was, we gave them somewhat the template of how to play against that team. Look what up under Patricia alone. I'm not saying up under the previous regime. Up under Patricia, these 2 years that he was coaching, teams had approached the Lions differently. That's going from Green Bay. That's going for the years of even Minnesota and the Bears. They approached the Lions differently. They didn't approach them as like, okay, we finna treat them like the previous years. They approached them as like you have to have a game plan. I don't think there was really too much of teams that would come in prior to Patricia. They really had to focus on the game plan because they wasn't really focused on to counter the Lions. They was focused on basically doing what they do, posing their will against us. So now they have to counter the Lions versus doing how they typically would do it. So the linebacker core is totally different. With Jamie Collins alone, that makes the linebacker core great. Now, can he do it all by himself? No, but he actually can. And what I mean by that is his IQ, technique, and versatility. It's like having 6 linebackers on the field. You ever hear the story about how Bill Belichick talks about Ed Reed? Him and Tom Brady had the discussion about they doing film work, film study, and they game planning against the Ravens, and they said you have to look out for Reed. At all times, you have to know where he is. This is going to we have the Lions have never had that player. At least if they did, I've never seen it. They have never had that player that you have to look out for that player. I think we have two, and I'm going to say that's Harmon, and I'm going to say that's Jamie Collins. Those two, you have to look out for them. Where any given time, they can just float. So you better have a scope on where they are. As a quarterback, as a coordinator, you better know where they are. That changed. Okay, we're adding those two players to the team. Our secondary automatically improved. Our linebacker automatically improved. Last year, what would happen to us? If we were leading in the fourth quarter, and if we can't run the ball, we can't slow down the clock and everything else. So therefore, we're looking at 3 and outs, or you're looking at Yeah, 3 and out, so to speak, or whatever. We punting the ball back. I mean, we're giving the ball back, and now the opposing team is doing what? Dumping it over the middle because we have nobody there. Okay, you have, you in the secondary, you had Slay, you had Diggs, you had a few others back there, but it was really nobody there that you really had the game plan to watch for. I mean, you could throw at Slay, you could throw at Diggs, you could throw at them. There was not really nobody back there in the secondary that you had the game plan. Now, let's say, for example, someone say like, well, there's really no name, that's back there that you really have the game plan for us now. If you roll a nickel or a dime package, and your nickel and dime package is this. So like if you roll two safeties, um, two safeties and four DBs, or for four DBs and two corners. And I mean, you can package it in so many different ways. That's that's like equivalent to saying that you got like 8 players on the field because you can box it. You can make sure they don't hit you deep. You can make sure they don't hit you over the middle. So only thing you need to do is your linebackers and your defensive line is to keep everything up front. So your secondary is going to play that, but your safeties are going to play. I don't want to say cover two or nothing like that, but they're going to make sure everything is up front. See, this is the brilliance of what I like about Patricia. You really don't know what you're going to get from him. That frustrates a lot of fans because they really want him to be predictable. Why? Because if he is predictable, they really gonna shred him. Every coach that we have had was predictable. How do we know? The opposing team would say we know what they're going to do, whether it's defensively or offensively. We was pretty much predictable. But with Patricia, you really don't know what you're going to get. So that's why the opponents has to play uh, towards us, or they have to game plan towards us versus just doing what they want, and we have to play catch up with them. All right, I'm rambling at this point, but anyway, I made some excellent points. So that was the linebacker core. That's just the linebacker core. The offensive already since Cardwell, I would say since Megatron. Let's say since Megatron left, Stafford has been coming into his own. So this year, I expect Stafford to put the fine print of his name. Not being like a Mahomes, not being like a Rodgers, not being like anybody, but being like a Stafford, mastering Stafford. I don't expect Stafford to be outside of Stafford. I expect him to play like a vet, like an experienced vet, not with a chip on the shoulder, but with a confidence, a leadership confidence. Like this is like my team. I expect that. Now he may not go around yelling or nothing like that, but I expect his approach to be that. I own this, and that only reason I would say that because I would think Stafford will finally officially come out of the development of who he is. We have been waiting for Stafford to take this team by the helm and just like this is my team, and I think slowly but surely through from the very moment he was drafted here, from every coordinator, every coach that he was up under, have played a part of helping him come out of this cocoon. And I think this is the year that he owns it. He owns himself. Everything slows down. It's been slowing down for, like I said, ever since Megatron left. It's been slowing down, slowing down. And now I think it's at that place where he can do, he knows that he can do whatever he wants on the field. Not just that, he also has like a roster now that he believes that they won't leave him to be hung out to dry. You know what I'm saying? They will have his back. And not just pick him up if somebody throw him on the ground, but in other words, follow his lead. He's not going to lead as in the previous Stafford. He's going to lead like in a mature break. It's going to be great for Stafford. But anyway, that's the offense. All right. Now, if If everybody's following, if on the offense, if everybody's following Stafford's lead, your offensive line is going to be a totally different animal. Now, I've been waiting for the offensive line to be their own animal on their own, but no, they've been looking for a leader. All right, either it was going to be someone on the offensive line to be the leader, or it's going to be the quarterback was going to be the leader. I think it's going to be a combination of two, but I'm going to put emphasis on the quarter on Stafford being the leader. But Ragnow is like a one A one B type deal. He's going to be a close second to Stafford of being the leadership of the offensive line. And such not so much of a leader like I've been here a long time. I pay my dues. I'm the leader, but more so the approach of how they're going to pose their will against the other team. I have never seen the Lions ever approach a team. We're going to oppose our will upon them. I've seen Lions teams that have been overhyped. They have been fed off of adrenaline and emotion, and they may have performed, but they couldn't sustain it because it really wasn't real. This is the first time I'm seeing a team that actually has a leader now and is going to follow that lead. Like we're going to. That's why I said when the Lions are going to make a Super Bowl run, it's going to be unsuspected because a lot of people think they're going to be the same old mental or mediocrity or mediocre type Lions team, but they really going to surprise the local fans is really going to catch on late because they still looking for the Lions to duplicate another team. I'm saying they're going to be their own team, and look at the personnel that they brought in this year. I'm going to throw out a couple names. We just talked about Harmon and Collins, but I want to bring out a couple more names like Trufant. I'm going to bring out that and Trufant Okuda, and let me see. I'm going to say Big V, right? Trufant Okuda, Big V. I'm going to use those. What Big V is going to bring to that offensive line is like they haven't had championship pedigree or a person with that kind of experience on their team, on this particular offensive line. I mean, normally we got it like we got okay. Somebody can say we had T.J. Lang or Ragnar, but they're like they came to the Lions because they was at the end of their career and they could get a quick pay. There was no they hit their ceiling. There was no room to grow with them. So they really to me they really don't count. But a guy like Big V, like he is young, you know what I mean, and he has that experience. So he haven't even touched his ceiling. That's why I think he's going to be a great addition to Ragnar. And going over to Trufant, well, if it was up to me, and we go into the discussion about who's going to be the number one corner, who's going to be number two, so forth. I think with this setup, it's how you got Coleman, Amari, Awariye, um, and you have let's say Okuda, and you got some other ones there. I'm losing names right now, but it's like you got those three. You really don't need a number one. It's not about that. Ev- I mean, how this team is going to come. Remember how the Legion of Boom did it? They had like say Richard Sherman. Of course, he has the mouth and all that good stuff, but Cam Chancellor and I'm gonna miss someone else. I'm thinking about Anyway, you had those two among maybe a few other. As a matter of fact, I don't know if Justin Coleman came from. Not Sneed. I think Sam Sneed. I think he was there. Anyway, they had quite a few rotational guys. You had your two mainstays. You have your Cam Chancellor and you had Sherman, right? Those were your centerpieces. But everybody else was like, don't forget about us. And so they brought their A game, their effort, their attitude. They bought in to Legion of Boom. They're not going to do anything with us. So that's what I think you're having with this DB group. And this secondary is going to be great, barring no injuries, no major injuries, and all that good stuff. But so you got Okuda. So what I would do with Okuda, they immediately somebody's fan may say, "Well, you drafted number three, so you better be your number one." He don't have to be a number one. All he have to do is like so like if you going against a receiver set that you got a shifty receiver or you got a tall receiver that's a deep threat. So I want to I don't know who are the dual combinations anymore. I don't even know who the receivers are. So so if select for a team that's a fast paced team like the Chiefs, they play up tempo, right? Fast, whatever. So with a situation like that, if Okuda is not running like a 4-2 or something like that, you don't have to line him up against Tyreek Hill or anybody. I don't want to say you could play zone, but if you did, how could they going Mahomes will have to be a precise, accurate quarterback to throw in tight windows like Stafford. Because what you would do with your DBs, you would pocket the field, pocket. And what I mean by that, it's like if you're running a nickel or a dime, or even a base, whatever. If you run a nickel, let's say for example you run a nickel or a dime, you're gonna have to squeeze some throws in some untimely situation. But see, here's the thing: if you're worried about your secondary because we're loaded in the secondary, you got Coleman, Awarie. I said Amari, Awarie. You got True Front, Awarie, Coleman, Okuda, right? That's four. Let me say I did it right. Let's say Coleman, Trufant, Awarie, and Okuda. You got four DBs that you got to be concerned with, right? So if you're looking at four DBs, how are you looking at the blitz? That's not even considering Tracy or Harmon. Yeah, I'm not considering that. I'm just saying your corners. You got that as your package. You don't see. This is Patricia. This is not Patricia with Divergent or Ford or some other guys. Look at the position. We all seen a Warrior play last year. How he increased. Let's say like he is your least out of all your corners now of the four. He's your least, and he still can play play against a one or a two, right? So what I'm saying is, if you got Trufant, you got Okuda, you got Coleman, and you got a Warrior. Each one of them is going to play their part of getting in and making like it's going to be great. All they got to do, all that has to be done is one person to get dirty. All they need is one person in that secondary to get dirty. And I'm going to put is either going to be Tracy Walker or it's going to be Harmon. One of them is going to get dirty and they're going to establish an identity. Once the identity is set, everybody in that back secondary is going to buy in. Now, if you got a secondary that you really can't throw up underneath or deep, right? How are you going to? All right. See, the Lions fans were like, we need a pass rush. We need a pass rush. The reason why they said they need a pass rush because we didn't have the secondary that we had last year, nor did we have the versatility of the linebackers that we had last year. That's why they put so much emphasis this year, the Lions fans that is, but we need a pass rush. We need a pass rush. Not necessarily. The reason why they said a pass rush because they said that the quarterback had too long of a time to throw the ball, right? And the reason why you're saying that because if the quarterback is not worried about the secondary or the linebackers, he knows eventually his receivers are going to get open. He's not worried about it. That's why he can sit there all day and not panic. But if you can't throw anything because you're concerned about the linebackers because you don't know where the blitz is coming, you don't know anything. You don't know anything because you don't know too much about these players. So and then with the secondary, you don't know how it's going to fit. So like I said, teams is going to basically to be like in reaction to the Lions versus the Lions is basically getting hit in the mouth by the opposing team and so forth. But anyway, with that being said, that's just to talk about that for this year, and of course how the culture is changing. But they're just two positional groups: the linebacker group and the secondary. How it's going to prove. I haven't even mentioned they really didn't do too much to the defensive line because they didn't have to. Like what he's going to do, what he's going to be able to do this year. Let's say like if hypothetically they brought Mike Daniels back, and if they did, he's not going to play. He's going to play limited snaps and everything else, but he's going to play in a like it's going to be a rotational deal. The the reason why I like this team is because you don't know what Patricia's going to do. That's why I like this team. But Patricia got the respect from other coaches that carried over from New England. The other coaches are saying all he needs is his type of guys, not the guys that play for New England are considered his type of guys. His type of guys is though they're going to see what he wants on the board, and they're going to uh, transfer that to the field, and it's lights out. So your linebacker core is not like Tahir Whitehead and Davis and Kennard and Christian Jones. That's not your linebacker core. You don't have to worry about that. If you're an offensive coordinator, your head coach, you don't have to worry about that. That's why there was no panic towards the Lions. But they got a little bit of tape on Jelani Tavai. But Jelani Tavai is going to be so much improved based upon Jamie Collins. So let's say that if you got a Davis here, Davis is going to be actually like a dark, not gonna say a dark horse, but he's going to be like this chip, like an unsuspected chip, and he's going to do something. I don't expect him to be the talent that I thought he would be when he first got here, but I do expect him to contribute to this team in such a way that it will be definitely unsuspected, type deal. That's why I said this linebacker core is actually vastly improved. Just of course, I could say in player personnel, but what they bring to the table, technique, IQ, and ability. You if take Jamie Collins out, I wouldn't be saying it about the linebacker core. But he is so good at what he does. That makes everybody around him better. He is so good at what he owns his craft. He is so good that I'm gonna not with every linebacker core. If you got that guy that is so good at what they do, it makes everybody elevate their game to the next level. I mean, I remember when Urlacher was like a thorn in our side, and then all of a sudden Briggs come out of nowhere. He's like this guy. And then we're like, I'm like, how come we can't get this type of guy? But Urlacher brought out the best in Briggs. You know, he had a standard. We haven't had a linebacker with a standard. Even with DeAndre Levy, I guess we could say Chris Spillman really had a standard, but at the same time, I think he was just a hard worker. I don't think he had a standard though. I think Collins comes with this like centerpiece. Like I demand. I mean, I command the room. He has it, and I think they all bring that from New England. Trey Flowers, uh, Jamie Collins, and Harmon and Shelton. They're gonna bring this charisma to this team that this team has never. This Lions fan have never seen it. That's why I'm saying they're gonna make a run this year, and the offense is gonna take care of it. The offense is already great, and you just added two new pieces. I'm gonna say two new pieces, and this is what I mean. Let's say three new pieces. You got Big V. Whoever you plug at your guards, they'll make it work. The Lions will make it work. I know they have at least four guards now that they can possibly have for two spots. If you got Bo Benchwa, if you got him, you're going to use him. If you use Joshua Garnett, if you use Joshua Jackson, if you use Sternberg, if you use him, you got possible. Even you got Joe Dahl, if you want to use him, whatever. But you got look what your possibilities are for your guards. It is a matter of how they complement each other. That's the best one who gets the job. I get that. But what you got with Big V on that edge, man, that's nasty, man. He's gonna actually Big V Ragnow is going to make Decker's game step up. Watch what I tell you; it's contagious. So with that, and my other pieces, of course, I'm going to say on offense is T.J. Hawkinson is going to he's going to have to do he's going to do so little in comparison to what the expectation was for him to do last year. He's just going to emerge to the spotlight though. It's going to be the game is going to be a lot slower for him in so many different ways. T.J. Hawkinson, Big V, and DeAndre Swift. That's going to be your offensive change. I don't. I think the way that Patricia and Quinn how they run their organization, if you're not ready to hit the ground running, we'll let you go. And even if you are, you still have to have a ceiling. Yeah, that means you have to have room to grow. If you have peaked, they may let you go. It's like a certain it's like a certain bracket that you have to fit up under to basically stay on the team, and I like that. The Lions have never had structure. You know, it's basically if you want to come here, you came here. If you didn't want to come here, we'll overpay you to get here. And once we overpay you to get here, you can do whatever you want. So, but they actually have structure. So, with that being said, Lions fan, I'm bringing this video to a close. Just let you know we are on the road to the Super Bowl. You heard it first from here.